Hi and welcome to this episode of the Daydream District Interview, and it's a very special one because it's completely in VR in Altspace. It's my big pleasure to speak with Bruce Wooden, who's the co-founder and head of experience of AltspaceVR. My name is Sebastian and this channel is called Daydream District, bringing you the latest and greatest of Daydream VR. So if this is your first time here and you would like to stay up to date about anything Daydream VR, consider to subscribe. But now, without further ado, let's directly jump into the interview.
I'm Bruce. Hi.
Awesome. Perfect. So cool. This works. Yeah, exactly. My name is Sebastian. I'm running Daydream District. And wow, I'm totally stoked to meet you here in VR for this interview.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Altspace VR. We've seen your awesome videos that you've done so far, and I'm
Cool.
glad that you're enjoying what we've built here. So yeah, glad to answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Really cool. It's so cool to meet you here. Yeah, cool that you've seen the videos. As you've seen, I'm very fascinated by Altspace. And first of all, I would like to thank you in the name of the Daydream community to bring this to Daydream. So thank you. And again, thanks for this interview. Yeah, so
Oh, absolutely.
I would like to, could you please introduce yourself a bit? I know that you're the co-founder of Altspace. And could you also quickly describe what Altspace is to the people who have not yet checked out Altspace for themselves?
Sure. My name is Bruce Wooden. I'm head of experience, which is essentially product strategy here at Altspace. I've interfaced with the community, try to make the core experience of the product better. So that's kind of a lot of what I do here. I've also been in the VR community quite a long time as Cymatic Bruce. I've co-founded Silicon Valley Virtual Reality. I've done lots of videos myself and community organization around VR. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And as far as Altspace VR, well, kind of what it is, if you haven't experienced it yet, it's a place for people to get together and do things. For example, if you get on a text or a phone call or video chat, you can communicate with the person on the other end, which is great. So Altspace is kind of taking that communication to the next level, where it's not just being in a place where I can talk to the person, but I can get a sense of where they are in space. If we have lots of people, we can virtually stand in a circle and talk with each other. We can see who's talking and who's looking at who, and we can do things. We could play a game or go through a maze together and have an experience. Just like in real life, when you get together socially, usually it's like a party, or it's like we're going to go to the game, or we're going to go and play these games or go to the movies or something. So that's kind of the analog there, a place to get together, hang out, and enjoy others' company.
Cool. Just now we're hanging out together, even though even you are in the States and I'm in Germany, but we can meet in this very futuristic room here. I don't know, is this a swimming pool here or what is this? Okay.
Yeah. I put a little web app here. We have apps that load dynamically from the web, and it's
Okay.
a little swimming pool. So we can go in like, oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, yeah, cool. Hopefully it's
It
warm.
doesn't do much, but
It's
it's just
fun.
kind of, yeah, exactly.
This is very cool. Very cool. Good. Let me get out of the water here. Oh, now I'm too close.
There we go.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
better.
There we go.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So
Mm.
now we know a bit better what Altspace is. Could you tell us a bit how it all started?
Yeah, Altspace at the beginning, um, well, I guess, there was a lot of research at the beginning to find out what kind of things are VR good for. And very early on, it was clear that having a social experience in VR is very, very good. It's very, very awesome. Um, but I think, there was some questions that my other co-founder, Eric Romo, he kind of went out and asked a bunch of his friends, like, what would you use VR for? They're like mechanical engineers, industrial engineers. And they were like, well, I wouldn't use it for AutoCAD because I've been using that for 20 years, but it'd be helpful if I could have this AutoCAD model in the space, and then have my biz dev guy from Chicago and my manufacturing guy in China all in the same space so we could look at the same model. That would be really useful. So I think that's kind of a point of inspiration where we're talking about, the social in combination with what provides value. What are you doing, whether it's entertainment or collaboration? Is there something that adds value there? And that's kind of how the germination of the idea of Altspace got started. And it's grown from there as we've experimented and thrown a lot of stuff at the wall to see what sticks and what is compelling and what people actually spend time doing in Altspace. Where we've learned a lot.
Okay,
So,
sure, great. So now that you have thrown so many things at the wall, what did stick? So what are people using the most in Altspace?
yeah, so far, the Holograms Against Humanity, the card game,
Yes.
is absolutely very, very popular. One of the most popular things that we have going, as well as the video jukebox space. People love to get together and share videos, whether it's explicitly to look at those videos or just to have them as like background music while they talk. So that's been, pretty awesome. And we've also had a small number of developers or hobbyist coders that have got in to use our SDK, and spend a lot of time building either their apps or even building kind of space takeover web apps that kind of redecorate the spaces that we already have and make additions to them. So there's lots of people spending lots of time doing that. So in general, and of course, events have done very, very well.
Yeah.
We've had thousands of people come out to spend lots of time at all the different events that we've had. So yeah.
Okay, great. Um, it seems there's quite a lot of people already working for Altspace. But first of all, I think it's incredible that there's always somebody to speak with in this first lobby where newcomers go. Incredible. 24 hours, there's always somebody. So I'm wondering how many people are now working for Altspace?
The core Altspace staff is around 40 people right now. So most of us are here in Redwood City, California, and working very hard.
Yeah, sure.
But we also have, yeah, but we also have a staff of our row team support as well. And those are the folks that are, in the client kind of around the clock. Very early on when we were demoing Altspace, it was very clear that it was very important to have another person on the other end
Yes.
inside of VR to help along. And so we've made that a priority to be like, hey, there's always going to be someone reachable around that
Yeah.
can kind of talk to you, ease you into the experience, and answer questions, help you out. So that's worked out really well, I think.
Cool, perfect. So you have 40 of course staff in Redwood, California. So that's already quite a big startup, I would say. So I would like to know, where are you on your startup journey? Are you looking for the next round of funding? If yes, what kind of round would that be? Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so far it's been seed rounds. What we've got so far is about 16 million in funding, and we're going pretty good. So it's yeah, we've been kind of growing steadily since 2013. So it's we've been in it for a while, but really. I think as a startup, we try to be less flashy as far as what we have in our office, and really focus on paying hardworking people. So
Sure.
it's we've made the money stretch well.
Got it.
So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now.
Okay, great. Um, so are you looking to raise the next round of funding very soon?
No information on that yet.
Okay.
But yeah, we shall see.
Okay, I'm sure quite a lot of people would be very interested to invest in you, since this feels so like, oh, this is the future of VR. It's so cool to meet people there and to do all this kind of stuff that you can do in Altspace. So I'm really sure you wouldn't have so many problems to raise. Good. So I would like to know now, on what platforms is Altspace now available?
So Altspace is available on the Daydream, of course, Gear VR, the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and also in 2D mode on Mac and PC if you don't have a VR headset. So we're pretty proud of maintaining that cross-platform status and trying to make the experience as good as possible across those. So that's where we are right now. It's definitely a challenge, but it's working out so far.
Perfect. So I have used Altspace for the first time on my Daydream device. So I have never used Altspace before on any other device. Could you tell me, do I face any limitations as compared to, for example, HTC Vive?
Yeah, we try our hardest to make the experience the same across the board, but mobile does have some, performance limitations, so we try to keep that in mind. The biggest gap, of course, is that, a Vive is a room scale experience with 6 DOF controllers, so a person can walk around. They have hands that they can, grab things with, which a Daydream user, has the remote, but it's a little more limited.
Yes.
So there's that. And there's a few spaces that the performance is pretty tough on the mobile users. So we're working on getting those for the mobile folks. So the Dungeons and Dragons Tavern, for example, is pretty heavy. It has a lot of stuff in it, and the Dungeons and Dragons app itself is pretty heavy. So the mobile users, we tested it and we found out that they overheat pretty quickly in there. So that's right now restricted for mobile users there
Got it.
until we get the performance up to something that it's comfortable. We feel good about.
Good. Yeah, I mean, mobile VR is still in its infancy, so this is the first generation for Daydream, and the devices do overheat quite quickly, probably 20, 30 minutes. So at the moment, I'm using some kind of cooling pack to prolong this interview. I hope this will last. So
Awesome.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm wondering. Are you going to allow at least some kind of simple gestures for the Daydream users for the remote? Because I think at the moment we cannot even wave. We have no hands, even though we could have one hand.
Yeah, that's something that we've thought about that we haven't implemented yet. I think, part of it is the performance. For every Daydream user, we add one hand. That's one more thing to render for every other user that's in that space. So we have to be careful
True.
a little bit. But yeah, I think it would be useful to have, to be able to use remote to gesture and emote in some way. So yeah, that's definitely something that's on our minds, but just hasn't been implemented yet with the first launch here. So
Yeah, of course, it's the first launch and there's still much to come. But I can tell you from the Daydream community, that's definitely something that we would be very happy about if at least you can give us one hand to show to express ourselves more because yeah, you can do a lot with hand gesturing motions, right? You can express a lot with that.
yeah, there's a lot of for everything that's added that we track, it's like a multiplier for the expression. So absolutely.
Exactly. Good, perfect. Then I would like to know, there are lots of things that you can do in Altspace, like you can play games, you can meet other people at the campfire, you can draw, you can sculpt. What would you say is the killer app of Altspace, even though you have mentioned it a bit before, but what do you want to be, or what is the vision of Altspace?
Wow, that's a great question. I think I would love to see Altspace in a position where it's not the Altspace staff creating most of the content, but it's users creating most of the content. And by that, like if a person has a forum or a subreddit, it'd be great if they also have an Altspace space associated with it. So in the sidebar of your subreddit, you can imagine having a link that goes to the space of that subreddit that is so people are able to have their virtual meetups there, or kind of do what they want with whatever community that they want. And it doesn't have to be Altspace running it. It's you have all the tools that you need to kind of do what you would like there. And I think ultimately that's one of the directions that we're headed, loosely, to be able to enable people to have the tools to facilitate their own kind of VR communication space, and with whatever context that they need around that. And the focus still is on communication, not quite super open metaverse, but I guess it's kind of the next evolution of like Google Hangouts or Skype or something like that. You can imagine that, if you're going into VR, you're using Altspace for that. Um, but it's kind of so much more. So that's not a very clean analogy, I guess. But yeah, I think that would be great if we get to the point where it's the platform itself has enough tools where you guys Daydream District, you can be like, hey, I want to have a meetup for Daydream District, and I'd like to do this, and X, Y, and Z there, and you'd have all the tools that you need to do whatever you'd like. That would be wonderful. We're kind of part of the way. You can definitely create an event. You can definitely choose some of the spaces that we have available. If you dive into our SDK, you can definitely make some modifications and changes, which is cool. But there's still some ways to go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think this vision is cool that, yeah, wherever you can enable your users to make up those spaces and simply make it easy to have these virtual spaces associated, yeah, with Reddit. It's a great idea. I'm also thinking about to use
Mm.
Altspace for meetups, of course, for meetups for Daydream District, and I'm definitely going to make it happen. You already offer some spaces where people can meet up like with 25 people or 30 even, I think. So I think that would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, we've definitely had some success with that already. We've had meetups with, well, various organizations have held their meetups or discussion groups, and those have gone, very well with Altspace. So that's one use case that we have,
Mhm.
have a pretty good handle on.
Great. And you have also mentioned the SDK. Could you tell us a bit more what it exactly means? It means like programmers can build their own rooms, or what does it mean?
Yeah, our SDK essentially it allows a developer or even a hobbyist coder to go in and use web code. It's based on JavaScript library called 3JS, like 3D WebGL.
Mhm.
Um, so with HTML, CSS, 3JS, and there's also a simpler language called A-Frame. By a combination of those tools, you can build apps and environments using our SDK. So that's something that we have. A couple hundred developers now that are messing around and making those things. And most of the kind of experiences or apps that you play in Altspace are made by third parties, by those developers. So like Holograms Against Humanity was a community project, for example. Or the video jukebox started as a community project, and we took it on and spruced it up. Um, and yeah, so we've had quite a few things that are in here in Altspace that are made by those third-party developers, which are
That is really cool. So those third-party developers, they will send in their projects and you check it out. And if you think they're cool, you're going to give it to all the players.
yeah, there's a couple ways we had some situations and we're like, hey, this is great. We'd love to just take this project and take it on, and that's worked out. And we've also had some situations where it's like, hey, this is wonderful. We'll feature it, and it'll be in the board game space or a game space or sometime in its own activity, like sculpt together the drawing
Yeah, this is
activity as a
great.
third-party app. So
Cool.
yeah.
Great, perfect. I have one more concrete question from the community. Let me just read it. It's will you have more card games, and would you, for example, also include licensed card games? Let me find the name just right. Licensed card games like Magic the Gathering, for example.
Oh, that's a great question. Well, so far we've had a couple licensed games inside of Altspace. So there's Love Letter from AG, and then there's Boss Monster from Brother Wise Games, and Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast. So Wizards of the Coast also does Magic the Gathering, but we haven't gone so far as to see where that's going. I think we're just trying to explore the relationship with D&D first. So no word on Magic yet, but definitely some Magic fans in the office. So
Okay, cool.
we'll see where it goes. Yeah,
Okay, great. Very much looking forward to that. And then now I'm very interested
awesome.
in the avatars. So you have a very cool avatar, yeah? You're like a robot, and you also have the cool hair, which kind of represents your real hairstyle, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I saw you on the in the real world. I mean, in the web, but not in the real world. Okay, and then yeah, this is
Yes.
cool. But I'm wondering, are you going to open like a more like an avatar system where people have more choices? Because now I'm kind of limited to my choice.
Yeah, that's something we're actually researching and working on now, and seeing where we're going to go next. So our avatar kind of design decisions are have been based on two things. One has been performance, especially on mobile. It has to be something that's pretty simple and pretty stripped down, especially once there's 30 avatars in the same room. We want to make sure that people could actually stay in for 15 or 20 minutes if they're on a Daydream or Gear VR. So there's that part of it. Then the other part of it is the the comfort. The uncanny valley is a term that is talked about frequently, but we try to make it so the avatars are simple enough so you can forget about the avatar and really get a sense of the person behind it. So that being said, the next step, we do want to introduce some options that'll give people more choice, to have more options. Eventually, I mean, I think the goal is we want to get to a point that if you go into a room with 20 avatars, you can look across the room and say, "Oh, there's my friend over there."
Mm.
Like you can
Yes,
really tell. So that would be, I think once we get to that point, that'll be a success. But it's yeah, it'll take some progress to get there. But yeah, we're definitely doing some work to get the next step going there. So
got it. Cool. Very much
stay
looking
tuned.
forward to that too. Of course, I will. Now, I would like to
Mhm.
also ask you some more about the business side. So, at one point, you will need to earn money, or you sell yourself to Facebook, perhaps. So, I'm wondering. Well, it could happen. Who knows? I'm wondering, what is your plan for monetization? Could you talk about it, or is it something that you wouldn't talk about at this point in time?
Yeah, right now there's no solid plans that we can talk about. It's really focused on what's compelling in VR and what's exciting, what people are doing. But roughly, I think we have some really solid understandings around events. There's already people that have told us that I would gladly pay money for X event. So that's great. Avatars is another clear avenue.
Yeah, that's what I was
Where,
thinking too.
we find yeah, people are very attached, more so than I think in 2D games when you're looking at the back of a character running around. In VR, if you were to buy a digital watch, you can look down and oh, there it is. So it's definitely some opportunity there.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I said, no solid plans, but I think we're discovering and learning
sure.
as we find things that are really compelling. Those naturally will kind of evolve into things that we can find ways to charge money and monetize around.
Okay, cool, great. Then I would like to know if you have read the book Ready Player One.
Several times.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Or the Bible, the Bible. So
Yes.
I'm wondering, how did you feel when you were reading it? Did you feel like, oh shit, I'm building this?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
I use it as motivation.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
It's every time things get a little hard or a little boring, I put on the audiobook of Ready Player One or read a little bit of it and I'm like, yeah, get pumped up again.
Cool,
So
perfect. That's exactly how I was imagining you would do it because my goodness, you're building the oasis here actually. So I'm wondering, do you also share the belief with the book that in the not too distant future we will spend a huge amount of our time in VR?
that's an interesting question. I'm not sure if I, absolutely believe it on like a total, like worldwide, most people are doing that. Um, I think there'll be a section of the population that'll spend a lot of time in virtual reality for sure. But I don't know if we'll ever get to the point, and it depends on where the technology goes. Like if you have, like a unit in 10 years in the future that does both AR and VR, so you're kind of wearing these glasses that you can go about your everyday life, and then with a push of a button, kind of go into VR mode or something.
Mhm.
Then something that becomes as easy to use and as ubiquitous as a smartphone. Then yeah, that definitely could be a possibility. But it's all going to come down to the content. Like, is there something is VR going to be better than what you can experience in real life? Um, I don't know. I wonder how if we'll get to that point where will it be kind of a side, like a fun thing to experience and have your real life, or will it be so compelling and so awesome that you'll want to spend most of your time there, and have your economy and your livelihood and everything in the virtual space? I don't know if
Well, we will see.
we'll get there.
But well, I do think for
Yeah.
for some parts of our life it would make sense. For example, education. Like if I live in a remote village, it would be like a pain in the ass to go to university. But if I could go to Altspace University and meet my buddies there and have the lectures here in VR, which could absolutely work, I do believe this would be some kind of compelling thing.
Oh yeah, and I think that would be really, really great if for certain types of applications. I think space travel is another one where, instead of humanity being lost in VR and never going to space, I would love it if we, push space travel forward, by sending unmanned crafts and then interacting with them through VR.
Sounds cool.
So that could be really cool to inhabit, a robot on Mars in VR as if you're on Mars. That'd be pretty sweet.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, true. Great. So, in the end of this interview, I would like to ask you, where do you see VR going in terms of mobile VR compared to tethered VR experiences? What do you think? Where's
Mm. Yeah, I think I think it's going to be kind of a combination of those things. Um, there was a speaker at GDC that actually had a really good point where he said, you can look at music, how people consume music now, and people have their smartphone or their iPod, their MP3 player, and they take that on the road. But when they come home, they have their home theater system with 5.1 and surround sound and everything, right? And so I think it'll be, VR will get to a similar place where you'll have maybe, whether it's through your smartphone or through augmented glasses or some all-in-one unit that's based on kind of smartphone technology that's on your person, that's lighter, maybe does kind of lightweight things that you'd like it to do on the go. But then once you get home, you have this high-end, really involved body tracking, room scale, high-end type of VR experience, and that maybe those things can kind of live interchangeably. So I think VR, I think for the mass appeal, for the barrier of entry, the all-in-one smartphone-based technology device is kind of makes the most sense. Where a person goes to their electronics store, they pay $200, and now they have a thing with everything they need, that does a serviceable job. So I think that's on the horizon.
yeah, of course. So basically,
Looking
you're
looking
talking about
feasible.
the Oasis player here, Ready Player One. Get your
Yeah,
Oasis player, and then you're good.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Get your Altspace player, and you'll be good. Cool. Very cool.
Absolutely.
Nice, nice. Looking very much forward to that future. Yeah, this has been an incredible interview. Thank you so much, Bruce. And you will be able to see it on YouTube tomorrow. I'm going to send you the link. And again, in the name of not humanity, but the Daydream community, thank you so much for bringing Outspace to Daydream. And I really look forward to speaking again with you and talk with you about the next milestone for Outspace in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the time, Sebastian. Appreciate it. And hello to the Daydream community out there. We love you guys, and we're going to continue to work to make the experience better and better for you. So keep coming back and checking it out. But yeah, thanks so much, and we'll talk again.
Awesome. And to all people who have not downloaded Altspace yet, download it right now and enjoy it and be able to speak with people like I spoke here with Bruce, co-founder of Altspace. Good. That's it. Thank you so much, Bruce. I'm looking forward to speak with you
All
next
right.
time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.
So that's it for this very special edition of the Daydream District interview. Again, Thanks a lot, Bruce Wooden, for your time, and to all of the Daydream District community, do download AltspaceVR now if you haven't yet. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and of course, if you haven't subscribed to Daydream District yet, do so now. Keep on daydreaming and see you in the next video.